Bienvenidos a nuestro canal donde las historias dan vida al inglés. La aventura de hoy nos lleva atrás en el tiempo para descubrir a los hermanos Lumière y el nacimiento del cine. Mientras leemos su cautivadora historia, también estaremos perfeccionando nuestras habilidades en inglés. Antes de que empecemos, exploremos sustantivos, adjetivos, verbos y adverbios clave del texto. Así entenderemos mejor y enriqueceremos nuestro vocabulario.
Nouns. Century.
Siglo.
Heads.
Cabezas.
Dreamer.
Soñador.
Mind.
Mente.
Portraits.
Retratos.
Excitant.
Emoción.
Invention.
Invención.
Kinetoscope.
Kinetoscopio.
Light bulb.
Bombilla.
Plates.
Placas.
Machines.
Máquinas.
Dinner.
Cena.
Adjectives. Sunny.
Soleado.
Unstoppable.
Imparable.
Well known.
Conocido.
Boring.
Aburrido.
Secretly.
Secretamente.
Focused.
Concentrado.
Smoothly.
Suavemente.
Strange.
Extraño.
Brilliant.
Brillante.
Technical.
Técnico.
Wooden.
De madera.
Working.
Funcional.
Verbs. Thinking.
Pensando.
Spent.
Pasaron tiempo.
Thought.
Pensaron.
Needed.
Necesitaba.
Brought.
Trajo.
Seen.
Visto.
Look.
Mirar.
Waited.
Esperaron.
Take.
Echar un vistazo.
Could see.
Podían ver.
Added.
Añadió.
Became.
Se convirtió.
Adverbs. Very.
Muy.
Now.
Ahora.
Exactly.
Exactamente.
Through.
A través de.
Often.
A menudo.
While.
Mientras.
Some.
Algunos.
Most.
La mayoría.
Always.
Siempre.
Right.
Justo.
After.
Después de.
Several.
Varios.
Chapter 1. Auguste and Louis to the Rescue of Boring Photography. In the sunny city of Besançon, France, at the end of the 19th century, lived two brothers who were very curious and had many ideas in their heads, Auguste and Louis Lumière. Auguste, the older one, was a serious and organized guy, always thinking about how to make things better. Louis, on the other hand, was more creative and a dreamer, with a mind that never stopped imagining new things. They were like day and night, but together they were an unstoppable team. Their father, Antoine Lumière, was a very well-known photographer in the area. He had a studio where people went to have serious and a little boring portraits taken. Auguste and Louis spent a lot of time in the studio, helping their father with the photos. But secretly, the two brothers thought that photography needed some excitement, something to make it move. One day, Antoine brought a new invention to the studio that he had seen in Paris, Thomas Edison's kinetoscope. It was a big box with a small window to look through. Inside, you could see moving pictures. It was fascinating. People waited in line to take a look at those short scenes. Auguste and Louis were amazed, but they also thought, "Is this all? The pictures are very small, and only one person can see them at a time." That's when a light bulb went on in the Lumière brothers' heads. "We could do something better," said Louis with bright eyes. "We could show the pictures on a big screen so that everyone can see them together," added Auguste, in his usual practical way. From that moment on, Papa Lumière's photo studio became a secret laboratory. Auguste and Louis spent hours and hours experimenting with photographic plates, lights, and machines. Sometimes they even forgot to eat dinner because they were so focused. One of the biggest problems they found was how to make the pictures move smoothly. The first tests were a bit jumpy. It looked like the people in the photos were dancing a very strange jig. This made them laugh a lot, but it also made them very frustrated. One day, while they were watching a sewing machine in their father's workshop, besides being a photographer, he was a very handy man. Louis had a brilliant idea. He realized that the part that made the fabric move forward little by little could be used for photographic film. Eureka! They had found the key to making the pictures move continuously and smoothly. With this revolutionary idea, they started to design a new machine that would not only record moving pictures but also show them. They called it the cinematógrafo, which in Greek means something like to write movement. A very good name for their amazing invention. 4 months, they worked without stopping, solving many technical problems. Sometimes the parts broke, other times the pictures were blurry. But they never gave up. Their passion for capturing and showing movement was stronger than any problem. And so, little by little, the cinematógrafo took shape. It was a wooden box with a lens, a part to move the film, and a lamp to show the pictures. It was simple but revolutionary. Finally, the day came when the Lumière brothers had their first working model. They were nervous and excited. They set up the machine in the studio and prepared a short film they had recorded, workers leaving their factory. When they turned on the lamp and the film started to move in front of the lens, a shaky but clear picture appeared on the wall. The people were moving. They were alive on the wall. Auguste and Louis looked at each other with big smiles. They had done it. They had given life to photography. But this was only the first part of their adventure. There was still a long way to go before their invention would amaze the whole world.
Antes de pasar al capítulo 2, hagamos un repaso al vocabulario clave.
Nouns. Test.
Prueba.
Studio.
Estudio.
Machine.
Máquina.
Motion.
Movimiento.
Question.
Pregunta.
Invention.
Invención.
Life.
Vida.
Scene.
Escena.
Streets.
Calles.
Things.
Cosas.
Breakfast.
Desayuno.
Gardener.
Jardinero.
Adjectives. Successful.
Exitoso.
Excited.
Emocionado.
Amazing.
Increíble.
Heavy.
Pesado.
wooden,
de madera,
light,
ligero,
still,
fijo,
usual,
habitual,
funny,
divertido,
scared,
asustado,
short,
corto,
huge,
enorme,
verbs, ask,
preguntar,
tried,
intentó,
happened,
sucedió,
arriving,
llegando,
placed,
colocaron,
appeared,
apareció,
show,
mostrar,
carrying,
llevando,
looking,
buscando,
seem,
parecer,
seeing,
viendo,
met,
conocieron,
adverbs, secretly,
secretamente,
together,
juntos,
sometimes,
a veces,
even,
incluso,
because,
porque,
so,
tan,
smoothly,
suavemente,
also,
también,
stronger,
más fuerte,
finally,
finalmente,
when,
cuando,
still,
todavía.
Chapter 2. The cinematograph goes out and causes a sensation. After their successful test in the studio, Auguste and Louis were very excited. They had created a machine that could capture life in motion and show it to others. But now the next question was, how would they show their amazing invention to the world? First, they decided to film more movies. They went out into the street with their heavy cinematograph, which was not exactly small or light. Imagine the scene. Two brothers carrying a big wooden box and a tripod through the streets of Lyon, looking for interesting scenes to film. They filmed simple things from everyday life, a baby having breakfast, a gardener watering the plants, a train arriving at a station. These scenes, although they seem normal today, were something never seen before at that time. People were used to still photos, not seeing reality move. While filming, they often met curious people who came up to ask what they were doing with that strange machine. Some laughed, others were skeptical, but most were very curious about the mysterious box. Auguste, with his usual patience, tried to explain that they were capturing movement, but it wasn't always easy to understand. One funny story happened when they were filming a train arriving at La Ciotat station. They placed the camera right in front of the tracks. When the train appeared on the screen during one of their first public showings, the audience got very scared. They thought the train was going to come out of the screen and run them over. There were screams and people ducked to protect themselves. The Lumière brothers had managed to create such a real illusion that it frightened the audience. After filming several short movies, Auguste and Louis knew they had something special. They needed to find a way to show their invention to more people. Their father, Antoine, who was a bit skeptical at first, began to see the potential of the cinematograph. He had contacts in the entertainment world and helped them organize their first public screenings. The first paying show of the cinematograph took place on December 28, 1895, at the Salon Indien du Grand Café in Paris. This day is considered the birth of cinema. The room was not very big, but the excitement was huge. People had heard about this new invention that showed living pictures. The program consisted of a series of short films, each lasting only a few minutes. Films like Workers Leaving the Lumiere Factory, The Sprinkler Sprinkled, a little comedy that made the audience laugh a lot, and, of course, the arrival of a train at La Ciotat station were shown. The audience's reaction was incredible. They were amazed, fascinated, and excited. They had never seen anything like it. The moving pictures were like magic. People laughed, were surprised, and applauded every film. The cinematograph had been a huge success. After this first showing, the news spread quickly throughout Paris. Everyone wanted to see the amazing invention of the Lumière brothers. The lines to get into the Salon Indien got longer and longer. Boring photography had been forgotten thanks to Auguste and Louis. The Lumière brothers realized that they had not only created an invention, but had opened a door to a new world of entertainment and storytelling. Cinema was born, and the world would never be the same again. But the challenges were not over. Now they had to find a way to keep making films, improve their invention, and take the cinematograph to other parts of the world. The Lumière brothers' cinematic adventure had just begun.
Veamos ahora el vocabulario clave del capítulo 3.
Nouns. Success.
Éxito.
Beginning.
Comienzo.
Countries.
Países.
Ambassadors.
Embajadores.
Wonders.
Maravillas.
Audiences.
Audiencias.
Machine.
Máquina.
Pictures.
Imágenes.
Sheet.
Sábana.
Room.
Habitación.
Place.
Lugar.
Showing.
Proyección.
Adjectives. Heavy.
Pesado.
Exciting.
Emocionante.
Own.
Propio.
Imagined.
Imaginado.
Mysterious.
Misterioso.
New.
Nuevo.
Simple.
Sencillo.
Dark.
Oscuro.
Fascinating.
Fascinante.
Funny.
Divertidas.
Small.
Pequeño.
Strange.
Extraño.
Verbs. New.
Sabían.
Hired.
Contrataron.
Learned.
Aprendieron.
Showing.
Mostrando.
Arrives.
Llega.
Gather.
Reúnen.
See.
Ver.
Gets.
Se pone.
Happens.
Sucede.
Seeing.
Viendo.
Arrive.
Llegar.
Crashing.
Rompiendo.
Adverbs. Just.
Solo.
Alone.
Solo. Sola.
All over.
Por todo.
Beyond.
Más allá.
Suddenly.
De repente.
Sometimes.
A veces.
Even.
Incluso.
Also.
También.
Once.
Una vez.
After.
Después.
Backwards.
Al revés.
A lot.
Mucho.
Chapter 3. The World Wonders at the Traveling Cinematograph. The success in Paris was just the beginning. Auguste and Louis knew that their invention could amaze the whole world. So, with their heavy cinematograph, they started an exciting adventure to show their films in different countries. They were like the ambassadors of cinema. They didn't travel alone. They hired several operators, curious and adventurous people who learned how to use the cinematograph and film their own movies. These operators traveled all over Europe and beyond, showing the wonders of cinema to audiences who had never imagined anything like it. Imagine the scene. A Lumiere operator arrives in a new city with his mysterious box. People gather to see what this machine is that promises to show living pictures. A white sheet is put up in a simple room, the place gets dark, and suddenly, magic happens. At every showing, the audience was amazed. Seeing a train arrive at the station, waves crashing on the beach, or people dancing was something completely new and fascinating. The reactions were of surprise, joy, and sometimes even fear, like that time with the train. The cinematograph was a show that brought out all kinds of emotions. The Lumiere operators not only showed the films they brought from France, but also filmed scenes of local life in each place they visited. This was very exciting for the audience, who could see themselves and their neighbors on the screen. It was like everyday life became a movie. There were many funny stories during these travels. In some places, people thought the cinematograph was black magic or some kind of trick. Once, in a small town, after seeing a film of a gardener watering, someone ran out to get their watering can to see if they could do magic too. Another time, during a showing in Russia, the operator was so nervous that he put the film in backwards. People watched the workers run into the factory and the baby lift itself from the table to put the bread back in its mouth. Even though it was a mistake, it made everyone laugh a lot. The Lumiere brothers also faced some technical problems during their travels. The cinematograph was a delicate machine, and it sometimes broke down during the trips. The operators had to be clever to fix it with the few things they had. Sometimes they used pieces of wood, wire, or even homemade glue to keep the magic of cinema working. Besides public showings, the cinematograph also became a tool to record important events. They filmed the crowning of kings, visits of important people, and scenes of military life. Cinema began to show its potential not only as entertainment, but also as a way to record history. While the cinematograph traveled the world and was very successful, Auguste and Louis stayed in France experimenting and improving their invention. Although they didn't travel as much as their operators, they were always thinking of new ways to capture and show movement. The success of the cinematograph was so big that soon other inventors and business people became interested in the world of cinema. Competition started to appear, but the Lumiere brothers could be proud of having been the first, the ones who started this wonderful invention that would change the world forever. And so, thanks to the vision and hard work of Auguste and Louis Lumière and the bravery of their traveling operators, cinema began its amazing journey around the world, bringing wonder and entertainment to people of all cultures and ages. The age of cinema had begun.
Antes de sumergirnos en el último capítulo, vamos a repasar el vocabulario clave.
Nouns. Success.
Éxito.
Brothers.
Hermanos.
Things.
Cosas.
Ways.
Maneras.
Audience.
Audiencia.
Experience.
Experiencia.
Hand.
Mano.
Detail.
Detalle.
Life.
Vida.
scenes,
escenas,
sound,
sonido,
attempts,
intentos,
adjectives, big,
grande,
early,
temprano,
better,
mejor,
amazing,
increíble,
first,
primera,
small,
pequeño,
surprised,
sorprendida,
great,
genial,
impressive,
impresionante,
perfect,
perfecto,
scientific,
científica,
interesting,
interesante,
verbs, add,
añadir,
developed,
desarrollaron,
painted,
pintaron,
giving,
dando,
made,
hicieron,
tried,
intentaron,
knew,
sabían,
having,
teniendo,
would be,
sería,
was,
era,
making,
haciendo,
focused,
se centraron,
adverbs, early,
temprano,
even,
incluso,
carefully,
cuidadosamente,
also,
también,
maybe,
quizás,
actively,
activamente,
little by little,
poco a poco,
less,
menos,
quite,
bastante,
now,
ahora,
quickly,
rápidamente,
simply,
simplemente.
Chapter 4: The Bright Legacy and the Future of Cinema. Despite their big early success, the Lumiere brothers didn't stop. They kept trying new things with their cinematograph, looking for ways to make the pictures better and the audience's experience even more amazing. One of their new ideas was to add color. Their first films were black and white, but Auguste and Louis developed a way to color the films by hand, picture by picture. Imagine how much work that was. Small groups of women carefully painted every little detail of the picture, giving life and color to the scenes. These colored films made the audience even more surprised. They also tried to add sound. They knew that moving pictures were great, but having sound at the same time would be even more impressive. Although they didn't create a perfect sound system for their showings, their attempts helped to start future progress in this area. However, even with their new ideas, the Lumiere brothers didn't see cinema as a big long-term business. For them, the cinematograph was more like a scientific curiosity, an interesting invention, but maybe something that wouldn't last. They were more interested in other things, like color photography, where they also made important contributions, and medicine. Little by little, they stopped making films actively and focused on other areas. They sold some of their patents, and they became less interested in making money from cinema. But even though the Lumiere brothers left the world of cinema quite early, their legacy was huge. Their invention started the whole film industry that we know today. Thanks to their cinematograph, a new art form began, a new way to tell stories, to entertain, and to show the world. Other inventors and business people took over, developing new techniques, building bigger and more comfortable movie theaters, and making films that were more detailed and had better stories. Cinema changed quickly, but it all started with that simple wooden box created by two curious brothers in France. It's amazing to think that the first Lumiere films showed such simple scenes as people leaving a factory or a train arriving at a station. These pictures, so normal for us today, were the spark that started the imagination of millions of people and led to the incredible variety of films we see now. Auguste and Louis Lumière, the first people in cinema, taught us the power of capturing movement and sharing it with others. Their invention not only changed entertainment, but also became a powerful tool for education, communication, and art. So, the next time you sit in a dark room to enjoy a movie, remember those two brothers from Besançon who dreamed of making photographs come to life. Remember their cleverness, their hard work, and their vision. Remember that it all started with a simple showing in a café in Paris. The legacy of the Lumière brothers lives on in every film we watch, in every story told on the big screen. Their cinematograph not only wrote movement but also wrote the first chapter of the wonderful story of cinema, a story that continues to change and amaze us to this day. Thank you, Auguste and Louis, for giving us the magic world of cinema.
Si te ha gustado el vídeo, suscríbete y dadle a la campanita. Nos vemos en el siguiente vídeo.